I'm one of those people who aged gracefully, who handled life's curveballs with wisdom and poise. I'm going to tell you 5 habits of mentally strong people. Not because I'm some expert, but because I spent 76 years being mentally weak, and the contrast, the difference these habits made, it's so stark that I can't keep it to myself. I broke under pressure, I crumbled when things got hard, I let my emotions run me like a puppet on strings for 60 years, and I paid for it. God, did I pay for it. I lost my first marriage because I couldn't handle conflict, couldn't sit with discomfort. The moment things got tense, I'd shut down or explode. There was no in-between. My wife, Rachel, she tried. For 12 years she tried. But you can't build a life with someone who falls apart every time the wind changes direction. I lost a business because I couldn't handle failure. One setback, and I just gave up. Walked away, told myself it wasn't meant to be, instead of admitting I didn't have the mental strength to push through the hard part. I lost relationships with my children because I was so caught up in my own emotional storms that I couldn't be present for theirs. They learned early not to bring their problems to me because Dad couldn't handle it. Dad would make it about himself, so they stopped calling, and I don't blame them. But something happened when I turned 76. My doctor told me I had maybe 8 years left if I kept going the way I was going. High blood pressure, pre-diabetes, depression that I'd been ignoring for decades. And I realized, sitting in that doctor's office, that I didn't want to die as the man I'd been. Weak, reactive, controlled by every feeling that passed through me like weather. So I changed. Not overnight, not easily, but over 8 years, I rebuilt my mind from the ground up. And psychology research, all these studies about mental strength and resilience, they kept pointing to the same 5 habits. 5 things that mentally strong people do differently than the rest of us. I'm 84 now, and I practice these 5 habits every single day. They didn't give me back the years I lost. They didn't repair all the damage I did. But they gave me 8 years of actually being present. 8 years of feeling like I'm finally the person I should have been all along. Let me start with habit number 5, the one I resisted the longest. Habit number 5, they sit with discomfort instead of running from it. When I was younger, anytime I felt uncomfortable, anxious, scared, I'd do anything to make it stop. I'd drink, I'd work obsessively, I'd pick fights, I'd eat until I felt sick, I'd watch television until my brain went numb. Anything to not feel what I was feeling. I remember when I was 43, my father died, and I should have grieved, should have felt that pain, processed it, moved through it, but I didn't. I buried it, shoved it down, went right back to work the day after the funeral, told everyone I was fine, told myself I was being strong, and that grief, it didn't go away. It just festered, turned into depression, into numbness, into this low-grade misery that followed me for 20 years. When I turned 76 and started trying to change, a therapist told me something that changed everything. She said, "Henry, discomfort is information. When you run from it, you miss the message." So I started practicing something that felt impossible at first. When I felt uncomfortable, I'd just sit with it, not try to fix it, not try to escape it, just feel it. At first it lasted maybe 30 seconds before I'd break, reach for my phone, turn on the TV, do something to escape, but gradually I built up my tolerance. A minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and something remarkable happened. The feelings, they'd peak and then they'd pass like waves. They'd come in strong and I'd think I couldn't handle it, but then they'd recede, and I'd still be there, still okay. Mentally strong people, the research shows they have this ability to tolerate emotional discomfort without immediately reacting. They can sit with anxiety without needing to fix it, sit with sadness without needing to distract themselves, sit with uncertainty without needing immediate answers. I'm 84 now, and last month my son called me for the first time in 3 years, and the discomfort of that conversation, the awkwardness, the pain of all those lost years, I sat with it. I didn't make a joke to deflect. I didn't get defensive. I just let it be uncomfortable. And we talked, really talked. For the first time, maybe ever, that wouldn't have happened if I was still the man I was at 76, still running from every uncomfortable feeling. But sitting with discomfort is only half of it, because what you do after you feel the feeling, that's where habit number 4 comes in. Habit number 4, they question their thoughts instead of believing them. For most of my life, I believed every thought that passed through my head. If I thought I'm a failure, I believed it. If I thought nobody likes me, me, I believed it. If I thought this is never going to work out, I believed it. My thoughts ran my life, and my thoughts, they were liars, catastrophizers, drama queens. I remember when I was 52, I had a meeting with a potential client. Important meeting. Could have saved my struggling business. And the night before, my mind started spinning. You're going to mess this up. You always mess things up. He's going to see right through you. This is pointless. And I believed those thoughts, so I canceled the meeting, made up some excuse, never followed up. 6 months later, my business closed. And I never knew if that client could have made the difference because I let my thoughts convince me it was already over before it began. When I started working on my mental strength, I learned something from cognitive behavioral therapy research. Your thoughts aren't facts. They're just mental events, stories your brain tells you, and most of them are distorted, exaggerated, or just plain wrong. So I started questioning them. When a thought came up like, I'm too old to change, I'd ask myself, is that actually true, or is that just a thought? When a thought came up like, everyone thinks I'm pathetic, I'd ask, do I have evidence for that, or am I mind reading? At first it felt ridiculous, like arguing with myself, but gradually I realized my thoughts had been running this propaganda campaign in my head for 70 years, and I'd never once questioned their authority. Mentally strong people, they create distance between themselves and their thoughts. They don't believe everything their brain tells them. They evaluate, they question, they recognize that anxiety creates anxious thoughts, depression creates depressive thoughts, and tired creates catastrophic thoughts. I'm 84, and last week I thought, I'm too old to repair my relationship with my daughter. And old me would have believed that, would have used it as an excuse not to try. But now I questioned it. Is that true, or am I just scared she'll reject me? So I called her, left a voicemail, told her I was sorry for all of it. She hasn't called back yet. Maybe she won't. But I tried, because I didn't let a thought stop me. That's habit 4. But questioning your thoughts only works if you're actually paying attention to them in the first place. Which brings me to habit number 3. Habit number 3. They practice gratitude. Even when life is hard, I spent most of my life focused on what was wrong, what I didn't have, what I'd lost, what other people had that I didn't. My mind was like a heat-seeking missile for problems. I could be having a good day, and my brain would find the one thing that was off and fixate on it for hours. I remember my second wife, Linda, she used to make me breakfast every Sunday, pancakes, my favorite, and instead of appreciating it, I'd notice that the coffee was a little cold, or the pancakes were slightly overdone, and I'd mention it, not to be cruel, just pointing it out. She stopped making breakfast after a year, and I didn't understand why. Thought she was being oversensitive. Now I understand. I was focused on the 5% that wasn't perfect instead of the 95% that was love. When I turned 76 and started rebuilding my mental strength, someone told me about gratitude practice, and I thought it was ridiculous, some new age nonsense. But the research on gratitude is overwhelming. People who practice regular gratitude have better mental health, stronger relationships, more resilience, lower depression rates. It's one of the most well-established findings in positive psychology. So I tried it. Every morning, before I even got out of bed, I'd think of 3 things I was grateful for. Real things, specific things. At first it was hard. My brain wanted to jump to worry, to rumination, to all the things that were wrong, but I forced it. I'm grateful for hot water in the shower. I'm grateful that my legs still work. I'm grateful for the barista who remembers my order. Small things, ordinary things. And slowly, over months, my brain started to change. Started looking for things to appreciate instead of things to criticize. Mentally strong people, they don't ignore problems, but they also don't ignore what's working. They train their brains to notice both, to hold the hard stuff and the good stuff at the same time. I'm 84, and yesterday I walked past a mirror and my first thought was about how old I look, how much I've deteriorated. But then I caught myself and I thought, I'm grateful I can still walk. I'm grateful my mind still works. I'm grateful I'm still here to have the chance to do better. That shift, that tiny shift from criticism to gratitude, it's the difference between waking up with dread and waking up with purpose. But gratitude alone doesn't make you mentally strong. You need habit number 2, the one that separates people who survive from people who thrive. Habit number 2, they focus on what they can control and release what they can't. I wasted decades trying to control things I had no power over. I tried to control what people thought of me. I tried to control the economy. I tried to control my children's choices. I tried to control the past, as if worrying about it enough would somehow change what already happened. And the more I tried to control things outside my control, the more powerless I felt, the more anxious, the more frustrated. I remember when my daughter was 28, she got engaged to a man I didn't like. He was arrogant, careless, not good enough for her, and I tried everything to stop it. I argued with her. I gave ultimatums. I refused to attend the wedding. I tried to control her choice. She married him anyway, and she didn't speak to me for 7 years. 7 years I lost because I couldn't accept that her life was not mine to control. When I started rebuilding my mental strength, I learned about the circle of control. There's what you can control, your own actions, your thoughts, your responses. And there's what you can't control, everything else. Mentally strong people put all their energy into their circle of control and release everything outside it. They don't waste mental energy on things they can't change. I started asking myself constantly, can I control this? No? Then let it go. Can I control whether my son forgives me? No. But I can control whether I apologize. Can I control how long I live? No. But I can control how I spend the time I have. Can I control what happened 40 years ago? No. But I can control what I do today. This shift, this radical acceptance of what I can't control, it's been the most freeing thing I've ever experienced. I spent 76 years carrying the weight of things I had no power to change. And when I finally put that weight down, I realized how much energy I'd been wasting. I'm 84, and my daughter, the one who married that man I didn't like, she's been married for 19 years now, and he's actually a good man, a good father. I was wrong about him. But whether I was right or wrong doesn't matter. It wasn't my life to control. It never was. And accepting that freed me to focus on what I could control, being the father she deserved now, in the present, instead of trying to rewrite her past. But all of these habits, all 4 of them, they don't work without habit number 1, the foundation, the thing that makes everything else possible. Habit number 1, they show up every day, especially when they don't feel like it. This is the habit that changed my life, and it's the hardest one, because it requires doing the thing when every fiber of your being is screaming at you not to. For most of my life, I let my feelings dictate my actions. If I felt like working out, I worked out. If I didn't, I didn't. If I felt like being social, I'd call someone. If I didn't, I'd isolate. I was ruled by how I felt in the moment, and because I often felt bad, I often did nothing. I remember when I was 68, I went through a deep depression, and I stopped leaving the house, stopped answering the phone, stopped showering regularly because I didn't feel like doing any of it. And the longer I stayed in that pattern, the worse I felt, which made me want to do even less. It was a spiral, a death spiral, really. When I started trying to change at 76, I learned something from research on behavioral activation. Action precedes motivation, not the other way around. You don't wait until you feel like doing something. You do it, and then the feeling follows. So I started forcing myself to show up every single day, even when I didn't want to. I didn't feel like taking a walk, I walked anyway. 5 minutes, that's all, but I did it. I didn't feel like calling my son. I called anyway. Left a voicemail. Hung up feeling terrified, but I did it. I didn't feel like eating healthy. I ate the vegetables anyway. Hated every bite, but I did it. And slowly, over weeks and months, something shifted. The doing started to create the feeling. I started feeling better because I was acting like someone who felt better. Mentally strong people, they don't wait for motivation. They understand that discipline is doing it anyway, that showing up when it's hard is what builds mental strength, that consistency, even imperfect consistency, is what creates change. I'm 84 now, and there are days I don't want to get out of bed, days when the loneliness feels crushing, days when I think, what's the point? But I get up anyway, I make my bed, I eat my breakfast, I take my walk, I practice my gratitude, I sit with my my discomfort, I question my thoughts, not because I feel like it, but because I've learned that feelings are terrible compasses. They change with the weather, with my blood sugar, with how well I slept. Actions are what matter. Showing up is what matters. Now you know all five. The 5 habits that took me from mentally weak to mentally strong, or at least stronger. I'm not perfect, God no, but I'm not the man I was at 76. Sit with discomfort instead of running. Question your thoughts instead of believing them. Practice gratitude even when life is hard. Focus on what you can control and release what you can't. Show up every day, especially when you don't feel like it. These aren't secrets. Psychology has known about these habits for decades. They're in every cognitive behavioral therapy manual, every resilience training program, every mental toughness study. But knowing them and doing them, those are different things entirely. I'm 84. I've lost so much. Time with my children, my first marriage, opportunities, years of happiness I could have had if I'd been mentally stronger earlier. And I can't get any of that back. I can't rewind time. I can't undo the damage I did when I was weak, reactive, controlled by every feeling that passed through me. But I have now, today, and however many days I have left. And I'm telling you this because I see you. I see you letting your feelings run your life. I see you believing every catastrophic thought your brain throws at you. I see you focused on what's wrong instead of what's right. I see you trying to control things you can't control. I see you waiting until you feel like it to do the things that matter. And I'm telling you, please, please don't wait as long as I did. Don't get to 76 and realize you've spent your whole life being mentally weak, that you've let fear and anxiety and depression run you like a puppet, that you've lost relationships, opportunities, years of joy because you never learned how to be strong in your mind. Start now, today, with one habit. Just one. Sit with one uncomfortable feeling for 5 minutes instead of reaching for your phone. Question one negative thought instead of believing it. Write down 3 things you're grateful for before you go to bed. Let go of one thing you can't control that you've been carrying. Show up for one thing tomorrow even though you won't feel like it. Just one. Just start, because mental strength isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. One day, one habit, one choice at a time. I'm 84 and I wasted most of my life. But these last 8 years, they've been the best years I've had. Not because everything is perfect, but because I'm finally present for it. I'm finally strong enough to feel my feelings without them destroying me, to think my thoughts without being ruled by them, to see what I have instead of only what I've lost, to accept what I can't change and focus on what I can, to show up even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And that strength, that mental toughness, it didn't come from age, it didn't come from wisdom, it came from practice, from doing these 5 habits every single day for 8 years. You don't have to wait until you're 76 like I did. You don't have to lose what I lost first. You can start now, right now, today. And maybe, just maybe, you won't spend the last years of your life grieving all the years you wasted being weak. I suppose that's all I wanted to say, that mental strength is possible, even at 84, even after a lifetime of being weak. But it requires showing up every single day for the rest of your life. And it's worth it. God, it's worth it. Well, I should probably be going. Not that I have anywhere urgent to be, but I have my walk to take, whether I feel like it or not. And I will, because that's what mentally strong people do. They show up. I'm one of those people who aged gracefully, who handled life's curveballs with wisdom and poise. I'm going to tell you 5 habits of mentally strong people, not because I'm some expert, but because I spent 76 years being mentally weak, and the contrast, the difference these habits made, it's so stark that I can't keep it to myself. I broke under pressure. I crumbled when things got hard. I let my emotions run me like a puppet on strings for 60 years. And I paid for it. God, did I pay for it. I lost my first marriage because I couldn't handle conflict, couldn't sit with discomfort. The moment things got tense, I'd shut down or explode. There was no in between. My wife, Rachel, she tried. For 12 years she tried. But you can't build a life with someone who falls apart every time the wind changes direction. I lost a business because I couldn't handle failure. One setback and I just gave up, walked away, told myself it wasn't meant to be instead of admitting I didn't have the mental strength to push through the hard part. I lost relationships with my children because I was so caught up in my own emotional storms that I couldn't be present for theirs. They learned early not to bring their problems to me. Because Dad couldn't handle it, Dad would make it about himself. So they stopped calling, and I don't blame them. But something happened when I turned 76. My doctor told me I had maybe 8 years left if I kept going the way I was going. High blood pressure, prediabetes, depression that I'd been ignoring for decades. You don't have to wait until you're 76 like I did. You don't have to lose what I lost first. You can start now, right now, today, and maybe, just maybe, you won't spend the last years of your life grieving all the years you wasted being weak. I suppose that's all I wanted to say. That mental strength is possible, even at 84, even after a lifetime of being weak, but it requires showing up every single day for the rest of your life, and it's worth it. God, it's worth it. Well, I should probably be going, not that I have anywhere urgent to be, but I have my walk to take, whether I feel like it or not. And I will, because that's what mentally strong people do. They show up.